Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it feels like we've been talking about this Tennessee game for about 3 months. Really, it's only been about 3 weeks and only 2 weeks since it's been official, but it is finally almost here. I'm just so excited to finally get to see this game after we've been thinking about it and talking about it and watching games for the other, there's been so much thinking about this game. Now it's finally almost here.
Finally, almost here. And it's much quicker moving than a bowl game, but it feels like we've been covering this, and we have covered this like a bowl game, frankly. Certainly the playoff game we've done in the past with Georgia, looking back at past games, even the Cotton Bowl. I think we went back and looked at past Missouri games. And then this one, of course, we have looked over 4 past Tennessee games. We are now just time for a full-blown game preview in terms of what we expect to happen, what we think will happen, what may or may not happen. What are the keys to the game? And we've talked about what Ohio State must do to win. That's a previous show. What Tennessee must do to win. That is a previous show. Tom, I want to start in this one with the fact that this game is a road game for Tennessee and is a home game for Ohio State. We know the last home game for Ohio State did not go well, but past road games for Tennessee have not gone well. And they wrapped up the season with a 36-23 win at Vanderbilt, 28,000 people. I don't think that's neither here nor there. But you look at their other 3 road games this season, true road games, they're 1-2 in those games. They beat Oklahoma 25-15. They lost at Arkansas 19-14. They lost at Georgia 31-17. So in those 3 games, averaging about 19 points per game. And so if that were to carry over, and those are not the Oklahoma and Arkansas are not the best teams that you're ever going to play. Georgia is a playoff team. Ohio State is a playoff team. I can hear Tennessee fans saying Ohio State's not Georgia, and that's fine. But I think Ohio State is, are they close to Arkansas at least? I think in terms of defense. But do we expect that kind of performance? Say if Tennessee scores 19 points in this game, where is your confidence level that Ohio State wins this on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being most confident.
So Tennessee scores 19 points. How confident am I that Ohio State wins the game? I'm going to say about a 5. I think I'm expecting a relatively close, low-scoring game. And, we'll get to the actual predictions at the end of the show, but I've kind of been bouncing around between low to mid-20s for Ohio State. So if you tell me Tennessee scores 19, that tells me if I'm right about what Ohio State's going to score, then it's a close game. And then you're also in the spot where you turn the ball over once and that 21 goes to 17, and then all of a sudden you lose by 2 instead of winning by 5. So I think Tennessee scoring 19, 20, 21 points, that may be enough. Certainly not a guarantee that it's enough. It's not a guarantee that it's enough for Ohio State either. But I don't think the Tennessee offense is going to have to put up a ton of points. What's the over-under on this game? 45, 46, something like that?
I think it's 46.
46, yeah. That feels pretty high to me. It just feels like these are 2 very good defenses. These are 2 offenses that are sometimes good and sometimes not. The conditions are not going to be 70 degrees and inside a dome. There's just a lot about this that points to probably somewhat low scoring, probably fairly close.
Yeah, I feel like that number is high as well, the 46 or whatever. So I'm expecting something low, and people say, is it the first team to 20 that wins? I'm like, no, it could be the second team, because there might not be much beyond 20, and it could be that last drive that gets the winning team, 24-20 or something, is a number that keeps popping into my head. But when you look at these road games, and the Tennessee offensive performance on the road has not been great. 4.7 yards per play against Oklahoma, 5.1 against Arkansas, 4.4 against Georgia. Three of their 4 worst performances of the season. They also were 4.5 yards per play against Florida, which was a 7-point win or a 6-point win for Tennessee. So there are performance issues on the road for Tennessee, and we've seen them get better as the season went on. Like I said, they finished well, but it's like you go to Georgia and then you have UTEP and then you have Vanderbilt. Yeah, you're going to finish well based on the trends there. But the Ohio State defense, I think in this one, they have everything that they need to give Tennessee's offense trouble, or at least hold Tennessee's offense in check. And Ohio State can stop the run. They have a secondary that can defend the pass. Which of these areas, Tom, if Tennessee is going to win this game, and we've kind of talked about that, but what is more important for them? Is it Dylan Sampson running? Because we've seen him run well and lose. Or is it Nico Iamaleava, quarterback, playing well and playing maybe like one of his 2 or 3 best games?
Boy, that's tough, because I feel like the answer in terms of just hitting a couple big plays, we've seen Nico Iamaleava struggle to throw the ball downfield accurately. We've seen a lot of, the receiver's kind of there. He overshot it by 3 yards. We've seen a lot of that over the course of the season. And if they hit just 1 or 2 in a game that you're expecting to be relatively low scoring, you hit 1 or 2 of those downfield, a couple 50-yarders, hit an 86-yarder to Dante Thornton again, like they did against Vanderbilt. Boy, if you're just trying to get to 21, that gets you a third of the way there in one play. That's going to be something that if you tell me he's going to hit 2-3 plays, 40 yards downfield, sure, that probably would be the single biggest thing that would go, okay, that moves the needle. Now, Ohio State has played 12 games of American football this year, and they have given up 2 plays of 40 yards all season long. So that's probably not where Tennessee is going to make their money, make their hay this on Saturday night. So given that, I think they're going to have to really kind of work for it. And given that, I think the answer for me is Dylan Sampson. If Dylan Sampson is at the 27 carries, 150 yards, 140 yards, maybe a touchdown, that is probably one of the, if you're going to build the foundation of what does it take for Tennessee to win this game, that's probably the bottom level of the foundation. You're building everything on, if Dylan Sampson can run the ball well, effectively, consistently, that just makes life so much easier for Tennessee, because if you can't do that, then they have to do it the hard way. That's kind of the Dylan Sampson running consistently for 5 yards a carry. That's the easy way. That's the way they would choose to do it. Will they be able to do that? I don't know. That a lot of that's going to come down to Ohio State's tackling. I think they're going to struggle to run the ball consistently. I don't think they're going to be just going 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. But the challenge is, okay, he's going to fall forward. So it's 3, and then it's 4, and then it's 2. Can you avoid the 35 in there? Because you can see him picking up a chunk here or there with 1 or 2 missed tackles, just because of the way they stress your defense. They pull guys out of the box with how they set up before the snap. And so it puts a lot of strain on Ohio State's defensive line and linebackers to make plays. And then is Ohio State going to be comfortable bringing Caleb Downs into the box to try and help with the run? If they do, and if Nico Iamaleava can't make them pay for it, then that's going to go a long way to helping Ohio State contain Dylan Sampson. So, long story short, yes, Dylan Sampson is my answer.
Well, and they are, as we talked about, all 2-3 weeks long, they're very patient in terms of building that running game. They run the ball 45 times per game. They throw it 29 times per game on average. So this is run heavy. They want to control the game, control the ball and wear you down. And that's part of Dylan Sampson's purpose, is just to wear down the defense. But that's also part of the passing game's purpose, the way everybody gets spread out. You want the defensive line to run against screens and all of these different things. With Nico, he's been held under 6 yards per pass attempt twice this season, and it's their 2 losses. And he was 5.4 yards per pass attempt against Arkansas. He was 5.1 against Georgia. The next worst was 6.5 against Florida. That Florida game keeps popping up in this. Other than that, he's over 7 yards, well over 7 yards per pass attempt in every other game. So it feels like if you force some incompletions in there and tackle. We sent in my score prediction for the Buckeye Huddle staff predictions. And for me, like, this is one of the biggest things for Ohio State. It's dumb. You got to tackle. Against Tennessee, they need to tackle at all three levels. They need to tackle Nico Iamaleava when they have an opportunity to get him in the backfield. They need to be able to tackle. They need to tackle Dylan Sampson around the line of scrimmage and as close to the line of scrimmage as possible. And then beyond the line of scrimmage, in those one-on-one situations, we talked with Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom and Jim Knowles about the way Tennessee spreads you out with the receivers past the yard numbers and things like that beyond the numbers. And that creates one-on-one situations with the safeties, with the corners, where they've got the ball and you are the last line of defense, and those guys have to tackle. Now, the good news is all three levels are pretty good tackling. They've gotten a lot better in terms of the linebackers have gotten better as the season has gone on. Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs are always solid. So again, this is a defense that is equipped to handle these things, but I think it kind of just starts with, yes, you got to stop the run. But if they can keep Nico Iamaleava from making some plays in this game after the initial rush is right there, then I think that'll go a long way towards the win. With all of this being said, so if you, aside from the quarterbacks and maybe aside from Dylan Sampson in this one, for you, who is the most important player for the Vols in this game?
On offense or overall?
Overall. Taking out the two most important players for the Vols.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a couple different directions I could go with this. I think there's an argument for Dante Thornton because, like I said, if you hit one or two big ones, if you're only trying to score 3 touchdowns to win and you hit one or two big ones, well, that gets you a good chunk of the way there. And that can be have 2 big plays and take the rest of the day off. Like, that's fine. Like, don't tire yourself out before the quarterfinals kind of thing. I think there's an argument sort of on the flip side for their right tackle, Campbell. He is going to be in a real street fight with Jack Sawyer. And we've seen him have trouble with noise on the road. We've seen him jump. We've seen him have holding penalties. We've seen him take hands to the face penalties. We've seen him get frustrated and take a really unnecessary personal foul against Vanderbilt. This is a defense where you can't do that. You cannot get yourself behind the sticks. And if you get yourself behind the sticks, you're in probably pretty big trouble because that's going to take away Dylan Sampson. That's going to put more on Nico Iamaleava, and that's going to put, he's someone who, we'll probably talk about him a little more, but he's someone who, he's going to be a big playmaker for one team or the other, or possibly both at different times, because he will try and do a lot, and he can extend plays, and he does not throw the ball away. So when he throws that ball downfield late and over the middle, which is a place you typically don't want to throw the ball, who's going to come down with it? Because that can be a big play one direction, or that can be a big play the other direction. If Jack Sawyer is in there getting pressure on Iamaleava, if Jack Sawyer is in there chopping down Dylan Sampson some on the on rundowns, that's going to put Tennessee potentially behind the sticks and put them in predictable passing situations where they do not want to be. There's plenty of choices on the defensive side of the ball. I will leave the defensive side of the ball for you because I think there's plenty of good choices over there as well.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the matchups when we talk about the Ohio State interior of the offensive line, having some question marks with the possibility of rotating 3 guys at the 2 guard spots. And we know Tennessee rotates 4 or 5 defensive tackles in the game. So it could be any of those guys, and they're going to stay fresh, and they're going to stay active, and they're going to keep getting after it. So I don't know that one of those guys is the key or the most important player. I think you could talk about James Pierce, number 27, their edge rusher, against both of Ohio State's tackles, wherever he decides to line up, wherever they put him and let him go. And if they can contain him, then I think Ohio State's going to have some really good success throwing the ball. If they can't, then all bets are off. But if Will Howard is upright and is able to just stand back there and throw, then again, I don't really care how well Ohio State runs the ball. They're going to be able to move the ball. So I think that's a big one. And if he can dominate the game, then Ohio State's going to have some issues Jermod McCoy, we know the number 3, their top corner, has been outstanding when we've gotten to see him in 4 games, and he's been good in other games as well. Can he lock down one guy? Does it really matter if he can? Because there are other guys out there. So now I think Tennessee needs good games from Will Brooks, safety, Andre Turntine at safety. We've seen Will Brooks have a good game in one of the 4 games that we've watched and not be a presence really in any of the others. Same with Andre Turntine. They're kind of just there. And maybe the fact that I keep saying this, that they're just there, there's probably going to be a big play made by one of those guys this weekend. But if you're asking me for the most important defensive player, I think I have to go with James Pierce, because he can control a game, not unlike Abdul Carter or some of the stuff we've seen from Oregon's pass rush. Like, he is a wrecker. He's showing up. He's good against the run as well. So if they can contain him, if you don't hear much from him, then you got to feel pretty good about Ohio State here.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good pick. The other choice for me, he was one of the guys I was thinking about. Omar Norman Lott, one of the defensive tackles. He's probably the guy who, if someone is going to just ruin Ohio State's day on the interior of the defensive line, it's probably him. But the other guy this is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. Ricky Gibson or Jermod McCoy, which of Tennessee's corners is going to be one-on-one with whoever they're one-on-one with? Because you feel like they're probably going to bracket Jeremiah Smith. And is that you put Ricky Gibson on him and you trust that having a safety over the top will help? Because Jermod McCoy is a better corner than Ricky Gibson. So do you have Ricky Gibson on him with, one-on-one, but you've got a safety over the top, so you're really kind of bracketing Jeremiah Smith? Because I'm sort of expecting that to be what they probably try and do. And then you take Jermod McCoy and you put him over on Carnell Tate. Whoever is one-on-one with the Ohio State receiver, because we see them play a ton of, just want to say good luck. We're all counting on you. Like, put your corner out on an island and trust him to go one-on-one with a guy. Ohio State's wide receivers, Jeremiah Smith gets all the pub. Mecca Ibuka is very good. He's going to be in the slot. He's probably going to be mostly against Boo Carter. And then on the outside, Carnell Tate. If it's Carnell Tate one-on-one with Ricky Gibson, that's the one that I've got circled in Sharpie on my depth chart on my game card, because that's where you could see Ohio State potentially having a pretty big game, because Ohio State, Tennessee has Jermod McCoy is a great corner, really good corner. Luke Carter's solid in the slot. Gibson, we have seen have some issues this season, and they have just not had to play teams that have 3 wide receivers as good as Ohio State. And it just feels like the 1 versus the 1 that's going to be an absolute war. And then you get the 2 versus the 2 and the 3 versus the 3. And it's like 2 baseball teams where they both have great ace starting pitchers, and then the one team's number 2 starter is a little better than the other team's number 2 starter, and the other team's number 3 starter is way better than the other team's number 3 starter. And it's like, that the one, everyone wants to talk about game 1 where it's ace versus ace. It's like, you might win the series by just winning game 2 and game 3 because you got better depth at those positions.
Yeah, you got John Smoltz as your number 3. Steve Avery behind him. Like, this is not fair at all. And then, of course, the ops giving Tom Glavine 6 inches outside of the plate also does not help.
There you go. I can tell we've been doing the show a long time, because I was all ready to say, is Ohio State going to get strikes 8 inches off the plate? But there you go. You beat me to it. So you're all set.
Tom Glavine. Anyway, I don't want to derail the show. We did a show earlier. We did a listener questions talking about the most important one-on-one matchups. And so when I posted that on Twitter and whatnot, a lot of the replies and on YouTube was Josh Heupel against Ryan Day. And we didn't really talk about that. We didn't really think about that. And I think that's interesting to me, because you've got 2 guys who Ryan Day wants to be aggressive. Josh Heupel, in the games that we've seen, has been very risk averse, very generally risk averse, not too aggressive on going on 4th downs. And so I'm wondering, in this game, knowing that it's going to be close, does somebody need to make a play, need to make a call, some sort of a risky play, a fake punt? There was a fantastic fake punt in the UNLV bowl game the other night. Does something like that need to happen? Or are they so scared about making that one play that loses the game that now it's like, we've got to be even more conservative? We can't yeah, we gotta swing and we gotta keep chopping, whatever, we're swing for the fences. But we also don't want to make the play. What are you doing faking a punt there? You've just cost yourselves. And like the only thing you need to do is not give the opponent the ball where they can score. And so then you've done that. Do you think somebody needs to make something happen? Do you think that will happen?
So do I think it will happen? Probably not. I think we have a long track record of watching Ryan Day in these games, and Ryan Day almost always takes the safe route in these, and that has cost them a bunch of times. Why does Ohio State keep losing these close games? Well, they lost the close game against Clemson in the 2019 Fiesta Bowl because of about 10 different things that went wrong against them. But one of them was they had it 4th and 3 at the Clemson, 42 or something like that, with a chance to potentially just drain the clock out and kill the game, and he punted. And he has sort of tended towards conservatism in those spots a lot. They have had, you go back to the 2022 Michigan game, and they were set to run a fake punt, and then the long snapper snapped it to the punter instead, and everyone went, what? And so that kind of, even when he's tried to do it, he hasn't gotten the opportunity to do it. But just generally, his tendency has been just, throw it all out there against the bad teams. Like, go for it on 4th down against Akron, you bet. When it's on the road against Penn State, when it's in the college football playoff, he tends to be more conservative. And unless he's doing the George Costanza, well, I've got to do the opposite of everything that I would normally do because what I've been doing before hasn't been working. I don't expect him to, suddenly start, going forward on 4th and 7 as no territory or anything like that. I think you're going to need to do something at some point. Someone is going to have to do something, and that play is going to could very well decide the game if it's close. The way Josh Heupel has managed games this year, the way Ryan Day has managed this type of game in the past, it just feels like they're both kind of tend towards being a little more conservative. And don't be the idiot who screwed it up by doing this, by going for it on, John Cooper in 1990 went forward on 4th and 1 in his own territory against Michigan late in the game, and they didn't get it. And then he's the idiot who lost the game because they went for it on 4th and 1, even though statistically that's probably the right decision. Not that we had words for analytics back in the early 90s, but back then it was probably the right decision. Jim Tressel went for it on 4th and 1 against Florida right before halftime in the 2006 national championship game and didn't get it. And then he's the idiot who went for it and didn't get it. And I think the coaches on the whole are just so risk averse that my assumption is always going to be they're going to do the safe thing. But if someone does, if you do have the one real ballsy call, Dan Lanning doing an onside kick in the middle of the game right after they got a personal or 15-yard penalty, taking advantage of that field position to try an onside kick and just kick it off of one of the up guys, that gave Oregon an extra possession in the game they won by 1 point. So, if you're willing to do it and it works, great. My tendency is always to assume coaches are going to be conservative in games like this because they don't want to be the idiot who screwed it up.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Talked when the NFL went to a 2-point conversion, like a bunch of NFL coaches didn't want it because it just added to another decision that they could be blamed for losing a game for. So there were a bunch of people opposed to it. So Tom, I have sent in my score prediction, and as I was typing it out, I did not go with the score that I thought I was going to go with. I went with Ohio State 24-17. I was going to go 24-20, but I went 17 instead. I don't know if it's because of the 19 points per game on the road and 14 against Arkansas, 17 against Georgia. That's hard to ignore. And that was, way back when. And Nico Iamaleava is a more accomplished and experienced quarterback, but also I think these conditions are going to be worse for a quarterback than for scoring. But Tennessee is kind of built for that with their running game. But I go 24-17. And what do you got?
I have been kind of bouncing back and forth between 21-10 and 21-13. I think it's going to be even lower scoring than you do. I'm going to go 21-13. This is not me saying you should take your mortgage and put it on Ohio State -7. This could very easily be 21-17 or something like that. I just don't think Tennessee's going to be able to score consistently on Ohio State, because really no one this season has scored on Ohio State consistently outside of Oregon. And Oregon has been the number one team in the nation for quite a number of weeks and put up 40 whatever points they put up in the Big Ten championship game. So, 31 points at home for Oregon, or 32 points at home for Oregon in a game where they stole a possession. I don't think Tennessee's getting to 30. I think you could see them get to 20, and that's just where you get one more big play, one more long run, one more long pass, one turnover deep in Ohio State territory. 21-13 is like, oh, wow, he thinks they're going to win by a bunch. That's, you have one turnover deep in your own end, or you have one turnover in the red zone, and all of a sudden that turns to 21-20 or 14-13. I mean, we're not talking about a huge margin here. I just broadly think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think coaches are, when it gets close and tight and late, I think coaches are going to get conservative. I think you're going to see, I don't think I see Ohio State kicking field goals. I just don't think they have, we'll see. It's very easy to say you have faith in your kicker, and it's another thing to say, well, it's the third quarter and it's tied and it's 4th and 1. What do I want to do here? And I think it's very easy to not side with your kicker, who missed a couple 30-something yarders against Michigan. So I think in that case, in those instances, Ryan Day is probably going to be a little more aggressive, not settling for field goals. You're going to probably go for it on 4th downs in the red zone more often than you might have otherwise. And Tennessee, I think they probably are a little more willing to rely on their kicker, because all Tennessee has to do is keep it close. Keep it close, stay within striking distance, take the points, and get yourself into the fourth quarter, and then you see what happens. That's what the underdog needs to do. You just keep it close, keep it low scoring, make it a 60-minute game, and give yourself a chance to win at the end. I think you may see Josh Heupel kicking some more field goals. They feel much better about Max Gilbert than Ohio State does about Jaden Fielding right now. And, for good reason. Max Gilbert had a bad stretch in the middle of the season and otherwise has been great at the beginning and the end of the season. So I think you'll probably see Tennessee kick a few more field goals. Ohio State probably going to be going for it a little more on 4th down, not necessarily out of aggressiveness, but just out of, we don't like any of our other options. We're on the 18-yard line. We can't punt from here. So what do we want to do? That's where I think you might see Ryan Day get a little more aggressive. I think it is going to be a really, really tight, entertaining football game for pretty much the full time. But I do think Ohio State wins in the end.
Yeah. Field goals for Ohio State feels like a situational thing where 4th and 14 from the 20 or something, where it's just like, you're going to take that chance. Or at the end of the half, something where it's like 48 yards away. I don't think you side with field goals on this one. Just stay aggressive. And maybe that's the aggression of what the winning coach. You don't need some big thing. You don't need a fake punt. You just need to stay aggressive on 4th downs as opposed to kicking and hoping for the best. Because odds are if you kick 3 field goals, you're probably making at most 2 of those. And so then really, would you have been better off going for all 3 of those 4th downs and maybe getting a touchdown over that 6 points? So there you go. That's Tony Linux. It's the only way to go. So that will do it. Hit the thumbs up before you go. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. And of course, hit the bell to be notified when we drop videos. When we're going live, we will be going live right before the game ends, and then just going straight into the night. Who knows how long it goes? We'll be there. So continue to find us at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. And of course, BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up now, first month, $4.99. Check us out behind the scenes there on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. We would love to see you there. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.